Coolest intro ever. Sorry, I hope you don't mind if I use that, Bernie. I'm gonna play this. And I don't know how to get the background avatar off here. Let's see.
Using a light bulb, a transformer, and a hairdryer, Roberto is going to show us exactly how insulating water is. Now, as a control, you can see and hear all three devices functioning normally. Grabbing demineralized water, which is the same thing as distilled water, he begins to pour the water over those devices. And you'll notice they're functioning perfectly. And let's go ahead and expose the high current heating elements as well. Your eyes are not deceiving you. That was a hairdryer you saw put under the water. And more strange, not only did it not short circuit, but it actually turned into a bit of a water pump. It's actually pretty cool. Now we do want to show there's no trickery here and that these are not waterproof plugs. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why in the world would you put your hands in water that has a coordinate? That is so irresponsible, right? Well, actually, the fact of the matter is that pure water is upwards 81 times less conductive than air itself, meaning your hands are actually safer under the water. Roberto knows this, which is why he's putting his hands underwater. Okay, by now we've hit home the point that pure water simply is not conductive. So what makes this glass of tap water conductive while this glass of distilled water is one of the best insulators known to science? What's the difference? Ions, dear Watson. Ions. Tap water, rainwater, and well water all contain dissolved ions from sodium, potassium, calcium, and iron, which makes the water highly conductive. Unlike this glass of distilled water, capacitors which store energy, resistors which direct power flow, and spark gaps. They're pretty simple, but guess what? Two of those three components can be replaced entirely with water. If that sounds a little bit crazy, well, it kind of is, but not entirely. See, this is where that dichotomy of water comes into play. If placed inside a plastic tube, fresh water will act like a high-value resistor. Goodbye resistors. And salt water is really conductive, so separating two bodies of salt water with a plastic insulator replaces high-voltage capacitors. That leaves only the spark gap left, which is just a gap. Not that hard to make. Believe it or not, these three things are all that it takes to turn a small high-voltage supply into vicious little bolts of lightning. I think the best way to show you how to build this is going to be through Now, one of the things that really surprises me is just how effective this wireless power is at a distance. Check this out. Sitting on the table about a foot away is a larger fluorescent tube. You can see just how much bigger this one is. Well, up close, it's super bright, but it still lights up about 6, 7, 8 feet away. I honestly was a bit shocked because I didn't expect it to go out that far. I expected a couple of feet. I can't emphasize enough how cool this is in person, and it should be obvious by now that this system, it has some potential. But you might be asking, okay, well, what's the physics behind this? How is this wireless power transfer happening? Well, those of you who have followed my channel for a while might be familiar with the term capacitive coupling. Look, you'd have to be a soulless Susie to not find this interesting. So check this out. This plasma globe is turned off, yet it's still lit, still functioning. How is that? Because capacitive coupling is the transfer of AC electricity between two physically unconnected circuits, primarily due to induced currents. The high voltage AC in the water is inducing a current in the plasma globe. But this type of energy transfer degrades with distance pretty quickly though, and its strength at any given distance can be predicted using the inverse square law. Wicked cool, right? That's the science.
They amplify the energies. So they are called ley lines. The red lines here on this map, red lines, they represent ley lines. They are underground energy lines. Usually they go east-west, north-south, but also they run diagonally. You see how the majority of those ley lines meet right here? Dr. Harry Olsen from UK, who developed the first PIP camera, today it's new energy vision camera. Here, of all the temples. And they were built on the places of all the megalithic structures. Why? Because somebody knew that there was a good energy potent place below. And those structures, they amplify the energies. So they are called ley lines. The red lines here on this map, red lines, they represent ley lines. They are underground energy lines. Usually they go east-west, north-south, but also they run diagonally. You see how the majority of those ley lines meet right here on this bigger map, right here. To the right is the capital city of Bosnia called Sarajevo. But here is the most powerful place. And this is the town of Visoko, and this is exactly where the Bosnian pyramids are located. Who had the eyes to see what's underneath? Element number 12, energy phenomena. Thanks to late Dr. Harry Olsen from UK, who developed the first PIP camera, today it's new energy vision camera, we are able to see those bioenergy fields. This here is pointy natural hill in Bosnia. Look at those bioenergy fields, those fields above. We have green, we have yellow, we have red, we have blue, we have red, we have green. They are all horizontal. This is the village in Serbia. Horizontal bioenergy fields, green and red and green and blue and red and green. This is a beautiful red rock locations in Sedona. This is a bell rock, looks like a step pyramid. Look at those lines behind it, all horizontal. Whenever you have a natural ambient, including these, mountains, valleys, rivers, cities, always horizontal. This is road when I take my groups to Egypt, road from Aswan to Abu Simbel. See those lines? Horizontal. This is the southern Germany. My German friends claim that this is a pyramid. However, we can see horizontal lines. I'll tell you why that's important. And this is the Bosnian pyramid of the sun. Vertical lines. Vertical. 2015. The panoramic view, town of Visoko to the right, buildings, horizontal lines. You are coming to the pyramid, you have vertical lines. 2016, the same thing. What's happening inside the red color? Energy is getting accumulated inside the pyramid, going through the top, hitting those horizontal fields, they become vertical. So as early as 2007, we knew that Bosnian pyramids had something to do with the energies. They were getting the energies out through the top of the pyramid. Energy machines. And that's exactly what we need, a new definition of the pyramids. Let's forget the bedtime stories about Egyptian pyramids being tombs for the pharaohs, and let's use science. Pyramids are energy amplifiers. Pyramids are shortly and simply energy machines. That is the purpose of pyramids. What we can use this energy for? We had teams of engineers, electrical engineers, sound engineers, telecommunication engineers, physicists who were coming with their equipment. This is the Croatian team. Measuring, concluding that from the top of the pyramid of the sun, moon, dragon, love, tumulus, we have energy beams going up at a 28 kilohertz frequency. Then the teams from Serbia, engineer Marianovic, he brought his equipment and he confirmed this frequency, 28 kilohertz, are his instruments here. The teams from Finland, Italy, they all got the same result. When in science, you have 5 international teams who come at 5 different times, who bring their own equipment, and they all get the same result. It is called the international scientific verification of the phenomenon. Which phenomenon? This right here. Energy beam going through the top of the pyramid, 28 kilohertz frequency. It is about 13 feet radius. It is continuous because we measure it. Summer, fall, winter, spring, it's always there. Mother Nature does not make hills with 4 sides, concrete blocks, passageways, underground tunnels, purification, and this energy beam. We measure it on the other natural hills, no energy beam. And then we measure, when we have constellation of our planets and our stars. For example, a very important event happened July 27, 2018. It was called the total eclipse. We wanted to see what's going to happen when we have Sun and Earth and the Moon and Mars on the same line, Jupiter just a little bit off. We measure this energy being during the daytime before the moon eclipse, and we measure it during the moon eclipse from 9:15 p.m. until 10:30 p.m. This is how the moon looked like. And we concluded that the electrical field was 2 times stronger during the moon's eclipse. You see how we're not alone? There is this exchange of the energy with the other stars and the planets. And we measure the strength of the signal at the base of the top of the pyramid, 10 feet higher, another 10 feet higher, somewhere here on the roof. And we concluded every time we lift this antenna, sonda, the signal is getting stronger and stronger and stronger. It is not very logical. What you would expect that there is a source of the energy either inside the pyramid or below the pyramid. And if we move away, the signal should be getting weaker and weaker. But since everything is upside down in Bosnia, our pyramid works differently. The signal is getting stronger and stronger. In science, this phenomenon is called scalar waves. The brilliant mind of Nikola Tesla in 1899 in his lab in Colorado Springs, he was working with subtle energies, and he realized that there is some other force, not only electromagnetic field. He called it scalar waves. In the last 50 years, physicists, they've been working on it, and they concluded that the speed of scalar waves is quicker than the speed of light. They've been teaching us from 100 years back, Albert Einstein hypothesis, the largest speed in the universe is the speed of light. However, the speed of scalar waves much, much quicker. So our conclusion, the first potential purpose of Bosnian pyramid energy is to be the communication device. 28 kilohertz, important frequency. When Nikola Tesla built Wardenclyffe Tower in the state of New York, he did a few experiments, and then he was writing in his diary, I found a way to move huge quantities of energy, thousands of horsepower, from one planet to another, regardless of their distance. And the frequency he was using, 28 kilohertz. It's not only the Bosnian pyramid of the sun that's been energetically active. The Kukulkan pyramid, Chichen Itza, Mexico, the tourist from El Salvador was filming his family, 2 daughters, and he filmed the storm, energy beam going through the top of the pyramid. The pyramid of the moon in Teotihuacan, energy beam. So there are more active pyramids. I
that in every place where you have a human center, a human chakra, we have those measuring are referred to as chakras. And those chakras are actually, like I have a heart chakra, I have a throat chakra, a brow chakra, and each one is a vortex communicating between multidimensional levels. Now, I use my measuring instruments, and those measuring instruments, I cannot go too much into how I measure, how I use certain pendulum instruments related to torsion effects and things like that, because it cannot be done in an hour. But suffice to say that we have found that in every place where you have a human center, a human chakra, we have a chakra on the statue. Now, what does it mean having a chakra on the statue? Means that you have life force, means that you have all the biological functions of the location of that chakra in the statue. But my statue on a physical level is not properly formed. Maybe I have formed the angles, I have formed everything, but I have not formed the material. So what will happen? It will contain all those energies of life, but it will not move, it will not animate. But all the other levels will be contained in it. So what we show that you can actually activate a chakra or increase its emission by raising the hands like that. Let's say the heart chakra, I raise those two hands on the level of the heart chakra. Because by moving the hands, each time I move the hands, the centers of gravities move with it. So actually when I do this, the heart chakra increases. So if I want to activate my heart chakra as a human being, all I have to do is this. My brow chakra, I do this. So throat chakra, I do this. So same thing with the statue. And then we test people sitting in front of the statue with bioresonance machines, and we see where they have a deficient, let's say, organ function, biological function in the body, with which chakra it's related. Then I place the statue with the right posture in front of them, and all of a sudden you can see a change in the life force in the body and the balance. That means that the statue itself has carried this information. It carries all the levels of light force and emits it to the person. Of course, the ancients, when they did this with the statue, they placed the statue on a sacred power spot so that they have the extra connection, higher connection to the statue. Now, this is just to show you that nature uses a design language, it uses design principles that actually draw in the life force. The ancient Egyptians used to speak about their temples as the house of the netters. Netters mean nature forces that we erroneously refer to as gods, but they were nature forces. Now, the temple was built through certain proportions in a certain power spot in order to actually connect to all the higher forces of nature so that it becomes a house of the netters. So now that we know that the ancients did it, the ancients invited the life force into every activity they did. They invited the life force. Now, biogeometry is a physics of quality, and it's based on a design language. The simplest maybe rule to understand in this design language, I'll just tell you one of the principles: rotation. Because any rotation that you do will automatically sort of amplify a center, an invisible center somewhere. So a rotation is one of the principles of connection, because rotation creates a center, center creates a vortex. So this is one of the first design rules, is to use rotation. Rotation could be physical or could be virtual, and this would actually have a sort of connective effect. But let's go a step further and see this design language of biogeometry. Okay, I use it, the design principles. I use them in architecture. I use them in furniture design. I use them in everything. And you should not think that, why don't I just place a pyramid or a sphere? The whole idea is not looking at a certain shape as sacred. All shapes are sacred. You should look at the design principles behind shapes, so that you can create your own shapes. You can design your own house. You can do this thing. Now, let me take you to an actual example, because what we've been saying now is very difficult to grasp without me showing a practical example of the use of biogeometry to balance the life force in nature. In 2003, I was invited by the Swiss government and the government mobile provider Swisscom to solve a problem that they had in one of the regions. This region is called Hamburg. Hamburg is part of the state of St. Gallen, and the